A millionaire disguises himself as a waiter, and catches the manager humiliating his best employee. The tray slipped, just slightly. Not enough to fall, not enough to shatter, but enough for the sharp-eyed manager across the room to notice. Of course, he muttered under his breath, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. It had to be you. Daniel froze. The restaurant buzzed with soft jazz, clinking glasses, and quiet conversations, but in that moment, everything seemed to pause around him. He steadied the tray in his hands, his fingers tightening around the edge as if holding onto something far more fragile than porcelain plates. "I'm sorry, sir," Daniel said, his voice calm, respectful. But the manager wasn't interested in apologies. "You're always sorry, mister," Collins snapped, stepping closer. "Sorry doesn't fix mistakes. Sorry doesn't impress guests. Sorry doesn't belong in a place like this." A few customers glanced over. Some looked uncomfortable, others simply looked away. Daniel lowered his gaze, not out of shame, but out of discipline. He had learned long ago that reacting only made things worse. Across the room, standing near the service station, a quiet observer watched everything unfold. He wore a plain white shirt, a black apron tied neatly at the waist, and carried a tray like any other waiter. No one paid him any special attention. No one recognized him, and that was exactly how he wanted it. His name was Adrian Hale. To the world, he was a billionaire investor, a man whose decisions moved markets, whose companies employed thousands. But tonight, he was just another waiter, an extra pair of hands in a restaurant he had quietly invested in months ago. He hadn't come for the food. He hadn't come for the business reports. He had come because of a letter. A handwritten letter, simple and honest, that had found its way to his office. It wasn't from a shareholder or a board member. It wasn't from anyone important, at least, not by society's standards. It was from an employee. "I love my job," the letter had said. "I love serving people, making them smile. But sometimes, it feels like kindness isn't valued here anymore." The letter hadn't mentioned names. It hadn't asked for help. But something about it stayed with Adrian. And now, watching Daniel stand quietly under the weight of public humiliation, Adrian felt a quiet certainty settle in his chest. He had found the writer. "Get back to work, mister," Collins said sharply, turning away as if the moment meant nothing. Daniel nodded and moved on, delivering the plates to table 7 with a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Here you go, ma'am. Grilled salmon, just as you ordered." The woman at the table smiled warmly. "Thank you, dear." It was small, almost invisible, but Adrian noticed the way Daniel's shoulders relaxed just slightly at that kindness. The way he still chose gentleness, even after being treated harshly. That mattered. Adrian picked up a tray and moved toward the kitchen, blending seamlessly into the rhythm of the staff. He listened more than he spoke, watched more than he acted. And what he saw wasn't just one moment. It was a pattern. "Mr. Collins criticized loudly but praised silently, if at all. He corrected mistakes with sharp words and dismissed effort as if it were expected and unremarkable. Except when it came to one thing. Numbers. Table turnover is slow tonight," he said later, pacing near the counter. "We're not here to make friends. We're here to make money." Daniel nodded. "Yes, sir. But somehow," Collins continued, his voice edged with irritation, "your section always takes longer." Adrian glanced over. Daniel didn't argue, didn't defend himself. "I make sure the guests are comfortable," Daniel said simply. Collins scoffed. "Comfort doesn't pay the bills. Efficiency does." A pause. Then, almost as an afterthought, he added, "Try to act like a professional for once." The words landed harder than they should have. Adrian felt it, not just as an observer, but as someone who understood the weight of leadership. The power of words, and the responsibility that came with it. Hours passed. The dinner rush peaked and slowly faded. The restaurant quieted, the clatter softening into a low hum of cleanup and closing routines. Adrian stayed silent, invisible, until he noticed something unexpected. An elderly man entered the restaurant just before closing. Most staff would have turned him away politely. "Mr. Collins certainly tried. We're closing," he said, already gesturing toward the door. But Daniel stepped forward. "It's okay," he said gently. "We still have time." Collins frowned. "We don't." It'll only take a few minutes, Daniel insisted. He looks tired. There was something in his voice, not defiance, but quiet conviction. Reluctantly, Collins waved a dismissive hand. Fine, but make it quick. Daniel guided the man to a table. What would you like, sir? The man hesitated. Honestly, I don't have much. Just something small. Daniel smiled. Don't worry about that. Let me take care of you. Adrian watched closely now. This wasn't part of the job description. This wasn't efficiency. This was something else. Daniel returned with a warm bowl of soup and fresh bread. He set it down carefully, making sure everything was just right. The elderly man's hands trembled slightly as he picked up the spoon. Thank you, he whispered. Daniel nodded. Take your time. No rush. No pressure. Just kindness. After the man finished, Daniel quietly paid for the meal himself. No announcement. No expectation. Just a simple act, done without hesitation. Adrian felt something shift inside him. This wasn't just a good employee. This was someone rare, someone who understood something deeper than service. Unbelievable, Collins muttered when he found out. You're not running a charity. Daniel didn't respond. You think this makes you a hero? Collins continued. It makes you inefficient. It makes you weak. That was the moment. Adrian stepped forward. Or maybe, he said calmly, it makes him human. Collins turned, startled. And who are you to comment? Adrian untied his apron slowly. Just someone who cares about how things are run here. Collins crossed his arms. You're a waiter. Stay in your place. A quiet silence fell over the room. Then Adrian reached into his pocket and placed a small card on the counter. Collins glanced at it. His expression changed. Confusion first, then disbelief, then something closer to fear. This isn't. It is, Adrian said. The name on the card was unmistakable. Adrian Hale, the owner. No one spoke. The weight of the moment settled heavily in the air. Daniel looked stunned. Collins looked like the ground had shifted beneath him. Adrian's gaze moved between them. I came here because of a letter, he said quietly. I wanted to understand what this place had become. He looked at Daniel. And now I do. Collins tried to recover. Sir, I can explain. I'm sure you can, Adrian interrupted. But I've already seen enough. A long pause. Then Adrian turned to Daniel. Why did you write it? Daniel hesitated. I didn't expect anyone to read it, he admitted. But I did. Another silence. I just wanted things to feel the way they used to, Daniel said. Like people mattered, not just numbers. Adrian nodded slowly. They do, he said. He turned back to Collins. But only if the people leading them understand. That. Collins opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The restaurant felt different now. Quieter. More honest. Adrian picked up the apron again, folding it neatly. Kindness isn't inefficiency, he said. It's what people remember. It's what brings them back. He glanced at the empty table where the elderly man had sat. It's what builds something that lasts. Daniel stood there, unsure what to say. Adrian offered him a small, genuine smile. You didn't just do your job tonight, he said. You reminded me why I invested in this place in the first place. The lights dimmed slightly as closing time finally arrived. But something had shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to change everything that came next.